Okay, hello everyone. My name is Ekem Mosi. So today I will talk about a very important topic in management, which is called change management. How it's work, and how to do the change management in a wider way. So let's get started. Who of you ever heard the term called change? I mean, what comes to your mind when you heard about change management? Change, what is change actually? Change is something, the portion of change of an organization, or like a changing of an individual, like change of a manager, or change of, the particular individual for a particular section. Now, change management is, the systematic way, significant change of an organization. So, as you have seen here, the definition, change management is a systematic approach that includes dealing with the transition or transformation of organization goals, core values, process, or technologies. So, a significant change of an organization. Okay, let's say a bank. There is the financial crisis. So how would bank will cope up with this situation? How will bank change? They will definitely change their strategies to cope up with the financial crisis they're having now, or change management, or they will just restructuring and the re-engineering, or in terms of relocating the process, the regular process, the strategic process, right? So this is what I actually mean by this is what I actually mean change management. All right, so I guess all of you will experience in your career change management, either as a big team or as a leader. You will definitely experience change management, that's for sure. Change management actually is a very critical for an organization. Some organizations are able to manage it. Some organizations are failed to be managed. So okay, let's have some example. Let's see some giants and see how they actually come up with this kind of change management. Before that, I'm gonna try to give you some sort of the highlights, like the main question that I'll cover today. Okay, let's get started here. What do you mean by the change management? What are the major type of change in organizations? So yeah, I'll talk about this, like what are the major changes happening in organization, and what does it actually mean by the change management? And if you come to the question number 2, what and how to change often lead to dysfunctional human reaction. So there is some sort of human reaction, as we all know, functional human reaction and dysfunctional human reaction. So here, dysfunctional human reaction, we don't have any control over it. See, for example, you start shouting on something that is not acceptable, and gradually you try to put yourself in a position or in a situation that is not even controlled by you. This kind of depression, emotional well-being, there is some other things which is not controllable, dysfunctional. These are dysfunctional. So if you see the question number 3, how can employees be led through changes by applying change management measure? So yeah, this is really very the good point and good question. How you can control your employee? You have to have the strong employee. You have to have the strong team to lead the changes, and to lead the organization through changes. All right. Question number 4, which conditions are required to effectively manage change? So I'll talk about the condition. There is a lot of conditions come up when you change the decision, when you try to change the scope and strategies of an organization, and there is some sort of stage involving here initialization, and then the scope setup and the vision, a lot of things, and the process design and the completion. A lot of things is coming up. So in which condition or recursive actively managed change. So you have to think about it as well. So I'll talk about this later. Okay. Why should we talk about change? Why? As a human being, we always, starving for more, right? You're always starving for more. And, but we are resistant to change. Without, we are resistant to change without changing our, lifestyle and habits, Actually, we like changes, but we don't want to be changed. That's the things, actually. So, let's have a look at some giants and how they actually manage changes. So here I'll talk about the ones that fail to understand the changes. Let's get some examples. Xerox, you all know about it, right? In 1959, they were really popular, and the cutting-edge technology. They were invented 914 photocopier, and we all know about Xerox, right? But some of us who don't know, Xerox also has a very fantastic research and development center. They innovated mouse, they innovated laser printers, and Windows-based interfaces. But what happened over the years? They didn't do that much of R&D, and they didn't spend that much of time on that project. Meanwhile, HP, Microsoft, Apple borrowed their technology and made billions out of their cutting-edge technology. So, see how they fail to understand the changes. So they continuously, making profit out of their 914 photocopier. In the meantime, they forgot their, the other technologies or the other projects. So they fail to manage changes. Let's say Nokia, we all know about it. In 2007, they were the 50%, the mobile phone industries, the profit, 50% of profit in the industry of mobile phone, telecommunication industry. And they were the first, introducer like the smartphone back in 1996, 11 years before than Apple. But what happened? Ultimately, what happened? We all know how they ended up, right? So this is what happened to Nokia, right? And they introduced the smartphone technologies like touchscreen based technology, and they also introduced internet-enabled phone, but they actually overestimated the transition of the smartphone and the acceptable, the reaction of the people. They continuously focus on hardware rather than focus, the software. Like the other different companies, they came up with the different, the ideas and different changes, like Apple. So they are very much, confident about their hardware. That we have a super hardware, this and that, and we can easily take over the market, something like that. But ultimately, what happened to that? Ultimately, we all know how they ended up. BlackBerry in 2007, they were the 50% of the 50% of total profit in mobile phone industry in the U.S. market, right? But they were continuously thinking about their the button phone or something like that, but they have the special the feature called defactor, the feature or something like that. But they are not. They were not actually think that much about the transition of the smartphone acceptable by the peoples and other people, how they would react with this sort of transition. Ultimately, we all know what happened to them, right? So in the meantime, if you see that this Polaroid, Polaroid, so we all know about it. They were the very famous company in for example, in 1956, yeah. And but they were not think that much about the digital camera. They were the leading company in that time, but they didn't spend that much of the time, that much of the decision, that much of the research and other things in terms of transition, and in terms of the changing the things, the people will be adopted with the digital camera introduced by some other organization, something like that. So what happened actually in 2001? They also filed for the bankruptcy, and this is how they ended. They failed to understand the change management. Yahoo, right? You all know about it. Yahoo, right? Yahoo has 20% of the online advertising. Online advertising site in 2001 actually. In 2004. But now they're struggling to get their fourth position compared to compared to Google and Apple, other the Microsoft as well. But they had an opportunity in 2005 to buy Google with only $5 billion. But what happened to Google now? Google is now the company worth is more than 239 billion. See the changes, how they adopt the changes, and see how Yahoo failed to understand the change management, right? They also had an opportunity to buy Facebook with only $1 billion. Now see where is the Facebook. So you can cheat. You can feel the changes, right? You can feel these sort of giants, the companies, how they fail to understand the change management. All right. So why change? The ones that went for it, the ones that really understand the change management. Okay, Twitter. Audio turns into Twitter. The microblogging and standard updating, we all know about Twitters. So they are, they're trying to audio to Twitter and be famous, and this is how they're doing today. We can see that Twitter is how well they're doing today, right? And Suzuki, you all know about it. They're good automotive company. They're specialized for high performance engine, like for motorcycles, something like that. But what they were, they were just a company who actually produced a machine for for machine silk industry or something like that. Different, the customized machine. But what happened ultimately? They changed to produce another things like the automotive parts, automotive engines, something like this. And this is how today Suzuki is, and they're doing really, really good. Starbucks, they were only just producing coffee machine and something like that. They are selling the coffee beans. In 1983, the CEO of Starbucks went to Italy and felt that, okay, why don't we sell coffee brew or coffee in the market like in the European style or something like that. So this decision actually made Starbucks today. I mean, can you see how they're able to get it, how they're able to manage it? It's only about Starbucks today, right? How good company they are. And HP, in 1947, HP was an engineering company. In 1968, I guess, they started producing some sort of a large-scale personal computer. And after that they go for producing the printer and laser and mouse, something like that, and they're doing really great today. We know their technology, we have a trust on them, and they're making billions out of it. This is how they change. See the changes. Engineering company turning into the production company, producing some sort of a personal the computers and some other accessories. So this is how HP is doing today, and they're able to manage it. They're able to manage the changes, and this is how they become successful. So you can feel the changes, right? All right. Need for change appears when actually, say for example, the organization, the internal and external environment consistently changing, right? We human beings, we may resist to change, but unfortunately, the environment is consistently changing. So this is actually have to adapt, right? At the same time, organization strategies stays the same. So this is actually, when this strategic drift is when these two things is differ from each other, and this sort of things is coming up like strategic shift. You need to adapt to survive. You need to adapt, or you need to thrive from this opportunity. So now you will decide what you're gonna do. You have to think about your organization strategy. You have to think about the environment actually you're practicing. It can be internal, it can be external. So there is some sort of drift coming up, and you have to manage yourself. You have to manage everything. Whether you will go for it, whether you don't, whether you will adopt it to survive, whether you will not go for whether you will not adopt it, or you may be think some other way to thrive from this opportunity. So this is how actually the things appears. This is how need for change appears. Okay, so these are some sort of combined definition of change management, preparing, help and support individuals to successfully adopt change in order to drive organizational success and outcomes. So, right? So you have to prepare, you have to support the individuals about the change management. You have to tell them in the right way that, okay, hello guys, say for example, you're the CEO of a company, or you're an executive of this company. Hey, from tomorrow we'll not producing this thing. From tomorrow we'll try to producing another things because of that, because of this, the external, internal, the environment are changing. We have to fight with the competitors. So many things is coming up. So guys, get ready for this new product. So when you start saying something like that, there will be a lot of things is coming up. There will be a lot of reactions is coming up. There will be, a lot of functional and dysfunctional reaction is coming up. But you have to introduce all of them to your employees. You have to manage. You have to prepare. You have to support individual. So if you cannot, and if you are fail to manage all those things actually, then you will not be able to manage changes. You will not be able to gain from these changes. You will not be able to thrive from this opportunity. Right? So this is how actually change management stands for. This is all about why we need changes, why organization need changes. It's really hard. It's really hard. Changing a person. So for example, think about us, changing something. Changing an individual is really hard task. We resist to change, right? And when you think about an organization, thousands of people are working in organizations, and it's quite difficult to manage all of them. It's quite difficult to manage all the tasks. It's quite difficult to lead the people through changes, right? And to achieve the organization goals. So it's really difficult in a sense. So here, let's explain something from this, the framework, restructuring. So let's say changing organizational structure and reporting lines, right? Executive and marketing and blah blah blah, the production and then sales, something like that. So you have some sort of people's, actually, you have to think about who will report to whom, something like that. So there is a structure in our organization, in every organization, right? Changing organizational structures. Okay, let me show you. The left hand, the right hand side, executive first. See the structure of the functional unit. Say. Executive boards, they have two different department, marketing, production, sales, and they are producing PC printer, and the marketing is all about they have to take care of all sort of marketing activities. The production, they have to take care of all production activities, and the sales, they have to take care of all sales activities, something like that, right? So the marketing, they will directly report to the executive board. If you consider the chart, the right hand side, and the production, they will directly report to the executive board, and sales also directly report to the executive board. So now the company is thinking to transition, like they will transfer to another structure. They will restructuring now. They will restructure something, right? So see, the PC printer, right? The company is producing PC printer. So now they're thinking that we will just decide to make two independent department, PC printer. So PC, say for example, marketing, production, sales. So two department, PC has their own, the structure, right? And they are responsible for a PC only. These people, these individuals are responsible for a printer, right? So before they were functional-oriented company, now they are product-oriented company. So why they come up with this kind of change? To achieve something? Maybe in terms of improving the quality of the product? Maybe in terms of increasing the profit? Yeah, something like that, right? This is how we need changes, right? This is how the changes happen. And this is why actually the organization is coming for changes, right? So very simple, thing is very simple. And let's say re-engineering. Re-engineering, changing process, the way of work is done, right? So re-engineering, what do you mean? I mean, what do you understand? Like, what's come to your mind when you heard re-engineering? The process, right? Engineering, the process, right? Say, for example, when you first apply in this university, you just, find all of your documents and submit to the university, and you will get the notification that, okay, we received your application. Now they will go for evaluation, after evaluation, they will go for pre-selection. They will notify you, okay, you are, selected like primary, so you will be called for another exam. It can be any kind of exam, maybe written, maybe some other things So this is the process, right? And after that, finally, they will select the final candidate or the final the candidate. Yeah. So for this process, right? So this is how the things is happening, right? This is the process, right? So changing the process, like before, me as a the marketing manager, I have to report to the executive board, and now no, I have to report to my I have to report to my the senior executive. Then he will take care of all those part and things. So you have to change the process. You have to change the process, the way of work. Before the work process was something like that. Now the work process is different. So this is also kind of when organizations think that they will change the function. So there is some sort of the functional activities also coming out, and maybe this function is also have some sort of influence in terms of change management. Okay, later on I'll give some sort of example of it. Mergers and acquisitions. So what do you mean by acquisition and mergers, right? Very simple. We all know that a company when acquire another company when go for acquire another company. So a great example is coming maybe Sony Ericsson, right? You all know about it. Sony Ericsson. When they go for acquire another company. Mergers is a kind of merge two company, jointly merge, changing the identities to achieving organization goals, to achieving something like that, right? So it's a kind of the marriage actually, marriage, I would say. That the two company get married and they will work together for a specific goal or something like that. So it's so simple, I think all of you got it. And strategy changing priorities, ultimate direction and purposes. So priorities is really important, the priority. So you have to centralize all those sort of priorities that will lead you change, the change management process. So you have to choose the direction in which way you should go, in which way should be appropriate to get this sort of, to accomplish the organization goals. So you have your vision and mission, right? You have your scope, right? You have to analyze all those things and set up the process and set up the ultimate direction to get cultural change. So changing values, attitude, and behavior. So not everyone in the organization, they will react same, right? The people are different from each other. People are different from their thinking as well. And people, they have their own values, right? People, they have their own attitude, right? So it's definitely not same for everyone. It's something different from each other, right? Say for example, before the customer, they were treated like a packages, right? The package. Oh, come on, you guys are coming here, get the service, go back, But nowadays, the organization is come up with the different changes. They must think about their customer as a customer. As a customer, they value their customer, right? Otherwise, they're not able to do their business. So this is how the things spring up. This is how the things you have to add. This is how the cultural change, you have to end up with the cultural change as well. Okay, so this is what I already explained. So there is very interesting, right? There is two leadership culture. Okay, let me just read for you guys. Right hand side, you see, we want our people to behave like adults. That's why we treat them that way. Each employee is responsible for what he or she decides. We believe in our people's own initiative to contribute our company's success. Everybody at his or her place. We do everything to avoid static structure. In order to control, we simply don't need it. So if you see, who feel like this sort of culture? Who feel like this sort of culture in the leadership, right? I guess it would be me. It's me actually. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm here today. Yeah, everyone will like this sort of culture, right? You have your own ideas. You have your own sort of voice. You have your own sort of ideas. Yeah, you can contribute your own knowledge and ideas in terms of getting the company success or something like that. And on the other hand, if you see here, people need structure and guidance. That's why our leaders will never stop telling our employees as clearly as possible what expected from them. Control is better than trust. Organization need rules, and rules always need somebody who takes care of that for them. Nobody wants to suffer from corporate chores. Come on. So who want to be in this culture? Who want to set your career in this culture? No one, right? But yeah, come on, why not? Why not as a leader? Why not as a leader? Think about you are a leader and you are just executing all those things and you feel really good that, oh my god, I'm something like that, I can other things. I think you don't like this culture as well. So this is ultimately, see, the first line. We want our people to behave like adults. So we are adults, come on. We're not. This culture will treat you as a kindergarten, the people, right? You don't have any control on your personal attitude, and you don't know how to, put yourself in a position, and you don't know where is your position actually existing in the organization. Come on, this culture refers that something really you are stuck in. You're stuck in. I mean, come on, you have always controlled by someone else. You don't have anything to say. In terms of work as a what should I say? In terms of getting the corporate goals, the company's goals, and organization's goals, and specific objectives as well. So this is all about the leadership cultures. Okay, so very interesting, very interesting. This part is really interesting. I would say this is amazing. I really personally, I always prepared this, this chart and to learn more about change management. So Kubler-Ross, she's a very good, psychologist. She wrote a book On Date and Time, 1967. She actually tried to figure out the answer of one specific question: is why people die? Why people die? Is there any answer for this question? Is there any answer for this question? Why people die? I guess no. There is no specific answer. I mean, come on. We have to die, right? Full stop. That's it. We have to die. There is no other way. We have to die, right? So she tried to figure out, if someone told that you will be die in just next 1 month because of some severe disease like cancer, some other disease, right? Then what should be the human reactions? Very critical. So she did posted of the interviews and the surveys, a lot of things, and finally she figured out this proposed the model or chart. You can see that immobilization, the shock when people think about you when you heard that you will be dying in next 1 month, you get shocked. Come on. Are you sure? What are you talking about? Are you sure? You don't have any control in that time, in that particular moment. You don't have any control in that particular moment. Oh my God, come on. Are you sure? And then you deny. This is the common human nature. No. No, that's totally wrong. That's impossible. That will never happen. Something like that, right? And finally, you get angry, come on, why me? Why not others? I'm good with the people, I'm treat other people, very well, and I never did anything wrong, I'm doing pretty good, why me? You get anger, and finally, your level of tolerance, fall down, and you start bargaining with yourself. Start bargaining, come on, give me another chance, please. Give me another chance. I'll never do this. I'll never do any sort of mistake. Give me another chance, please. I want to live. Give me another chance. You start bargaining, right? And then you fall into depression. When you see that, nothing helps. Nothing came out. You start bargaining with you, and there is no result. There is no result as well. It's at all. So you fall into depression. You start feel oh, come on, there is no way to get out of it, so I have to just, there is no way, I have to die, full stop, that's it. Simple as that. And then you start testing yourself, okay, come on, what good things I have done? Okay, it was a very good time with my family, with my friends, I have done this, I'm happy with it, I'm satisfied with it. You start testing yourself, and then finally you accept this decision. Simple. A very good example of change management. This is what happened in organization as well. Change always cannot be a good decision for every individuals, right? Say for example, the company changed their, the structures, changed their, the strategies. There is some people, they will be victim, right? They will never accept it. They will be victim. They will think that, come on, why me? Why not others? I was doing good, but because of the changing culture, because of the changing, the organization strategy, the significant portion of the organization strategy, you are the victim. You feel that you will not be able to work here from tomorrow because organization already decided to change their strategy. So this is what happened to organization as well. Now let's move to this slide. So here I will talk about resistance. We human beings always, we always like changes, but we don't want to be changed. This is what actually the typical human reaction, the common human reaction. So we are resistant to change. So why? there is a lot of, there is a lot of like, what is called, the fact, behind it. There is a lot of pattern behind it, how these things, how this critical, the reaction, the human reaction is actually working. So let's talk about some points from here. Resistance is a natural human reaction to destructive events. Fear of losing control. Yeah, exactly. Like, who of you ever share your room with your roommate, or with your colleague, with your classmates, whatever. So I think you guys already experienced, a lot of different human reaction and different situation where you found yourself without control. So let's say you are staying together in a flat and there is two rooms, and you're staying in room A and room B. Your friends are staying in room B, and you have an exam tomorrow and you are preparing for that, right? So let's say you have a final exam tomorrow. You are preparing for them, a lot of things to do, a lot of things to revise, a lot of things to review. But on the other hand, in other room, they don't have any exam. They are relaxed and they are enjoying themselves, listening to music and playing pianos, blah blah blah. So let's say the volume, the volume of the music, you don't have any control over the volume of the music in that room, right? So you are you're screaming on you, come on, tomorrow I have an exam, I have to prepare this, I have to prepare that. But this sort of sound really disturbs me, and I can't concentrate on my studies, something like that. So you are losing your control. You cannot control the volume of the music in another room, right? Sometimes it's happened. Same in the organization as well. Sometimes you don't have any control over the decision of your peers, about the decision of the management, right? About the decision of executive boards, right? But you think that you need it, on urgent basis. You need it, which is really needed. Which is really, important to do. But ultimately, you can't control this. You can't control this because you don't have any control over it. This is what happened in the organization as well. Who of you ever stuck in an elevator? Anyone? Anyone here? Anyone here? Yeah, let's say you're stuck in an elevator and suddenly you just got out of mind. You can control yourself, and you suddenly you don't have any control over the situation, right? So this is what actually happened. Sometimes actually in an organization, some specific decision, some specific changes, some specific the strategic changes also create this sort of situation, like this kind of the situation that you can control. So changing is seen by different people differently according to their individual frames of reference. Okay, let's give you a concrete example of it. Let's say you have a child, 8 years old child, and in the night, midnight, he just start calling Papa, Mama, Mama, Dad, come to my room. There is a monster in my room. And let's say the parents go over there and come on, screaming on him. Come on, there is no monster exit. So there is no monster. Come on, you were just making us trouble or something like that. Just directly go and sleep. There is no monster exist. Come on. This is kind of reaction, right? And another group of parents, they will go over the room and they will accept their child. Oh, come on, there is a monster, right? Oh, I like monster. I want to see monster as well. Where is the monster? Hello, monster. How are you? Something like that, right? So we can come on. You can that parents can say that, okay, let's have a dinner with monster. let's have some, fun with Monster. Come on, this is how they accept their child, right? So, see, the different people, different, the different observation, different people, different accepting strategy, different people, different way to handle the situation, right? This is exactly same in an organization, right? When something change, if you are not able to adapt, if you are not able to cope up with the changes, if you are not able to accept the changes, you'll be in big trouble sometimes. And it's really important to adapt the situation. It is really important to accept the situation, to get a good and positive feedback from the course of action that immediately has been made. So you have to think about it as well. Okay, resistant employees are often seen as non-rationally thinking of troublemakers, right? There is some group of people in your organization you'll find definitely in your career when you go for starting an organization, that there is some group of people, maybe you may have seen in your friend circle as well, they are always trying to talk different. They are always troublemaker, right? Any decision has been made, they say, no, just forget it, come on, there is a problem, that has not been done properly, there is something wrong, this will be, definitely a disaster, there will be definitely a disaster, this plan will never work. There is some troublemakers in everywhere, so you have to control them. You have to lead them with a strong group of people, who are able to accept the changes, who are able to lead through the changes. So, if you come here, resistance of informal opinion leaders are of a greater power than those of formal leaders. So there is two group of people, right? One is informal opinion leader, another one is formal leaders. Formal leaders are the executives, they say they have the power. They are the boss. They have the power because they are the boss. They are the boss because they are boss. So they have the power of it, right? So now tell me, what is power? What is power? A very simple definition. What is power? Power is a capability to influence others, right? If a group of people accept you, that means you are able to generate your power. That means you have the power, right? You have the power, right? But at the same time, there is some informal opinion leaders. They also have a power, right? They also have a power. Informal opinion leaders, they also have a power. Let's say you are managing a team and the team members are following you. They are accepting you, and you can come up with a significant change. A significant change of the decision has been taken by the board of director or taken by the board of executive. So sometimes these opinion leaders also have a great power than the formal leaders, because they can change the thing. They can change the whole idea. They can change the structure. They can re-engineer the process, right? So sometimes these informal opinion leaders have also the greater power than those formal leaders. There is always a mixture of overt and hidden resistance. Overt resistance should be available except on changes process. So there is a two group of people always, everywhere, you will find an organization, right? Some people, they like to talk in a coffee shop, they like to talk, when the meeting is done, they like to talk in some other places, they like to talk out of the organization. They say, oh, come on, that decision was made, oh, this will never work, come on, why this day decision? But this is called the hidden resistance, they don't want to change. But they don't want to speak, come on, they always try to talk, some other places, like in a coffee break, come on. Have you ever seen this kind of decision will never work, this, that, a lot of things is coming up here. So active involvement is probably the best way to deal with the resistance. So yeah, you have to involve yourself actively, you have to generate the ideas which has to be clear, Liz. So come on. let's say that the things are not work properly every time. So, but you have to involve yourself properly. Which would be the best way to deal the, resistance? All right. So, let's say reaction to positive changes for which the individual is responsible. Okay. This chart actually I have taken from Conrad G.R. Donald Graham, 2016. He wrote the book Managing the Speed of Changes. I would suggest you guys to read this book. I highly recommend you guys to read this book. I make change management, very much from this book. I really like these books and everything. I really like this book. So I really suggest you guys to read this book to understand more about change management. So here, if you can see that uniform optimism, the Navy and the informed pessimism, and then the level of tolerance, in terms of the level of tolerance, there is some sort of phrases and some sort of the points coming up here. Let's say once you start something, that's something positive, right? Let's think something positive, that you are trying to get married and you decide that you will get married, you'll get married to a spouse or something like that. So you decided, right? That's positive. Started with the positive ideas and everything. So yeah, fine. And you were so excited that, I'll go marry this, that, something like that. Let's say from my friends, post it on Facebook and other social media. Hey, I'm going to marry. I just got engaged, and now you're planning for something else, right? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. You're planning for your marriage ceremony, how it's going to be, and whom should invite it, and how every plan, what kind of clothes you will wear in your ceremony, something like this. So the things are going a positive way that you're checking out, and hopeful realization is coming up, right? Ultimately, that you are entering into the complexity, something like that, right? So it's think about the organization as well. Think about the individual project. When the project is started, the initialization and the ideas was really super idea. And it was amazing idea. It will definitely win over any sort of circumstances. But ultimately, when you start the project, then you will see that complexity. You will see the the lot of obstacles is coming up. But ultimately, you are going through the complexity, and you have to deal with the things from optimism and the stage actually you are entering in. There is a lot of complexity involved. There's a lot of this sort of hopeful realism and in from optimism, this sort of things actually have to overcome and finally go for the stage called the completion. So this is what actually everywhere in the organizations, when the things called change management, when the things called something's going to be changed, something has to be changed to achieve the organization goals. Yeah. So. Okay. Transformation efforts fail. This guy, John Calvin. Why transformation efforts fail? I would say he is a Google of change management. He is the leader of change management, I would say. This is amazing, He came up with these points. If you are not able to follow, if you are not able to maintain, if you are not able to obtain, if you don't follow these points or rules, you will not be able to manage the change management. You will not be able to manage success of change management. So these are the things. Establish a sense of urgency. So let's say the sense of urgency is really important, right? Think about your personal life. You are thinking that you will lose weight, you will be fit, and you are thinking that you will quit smoking. But unless you will feel the urgency that if you don't do that, then what happens to you? If you don't do that, there will be some serious problem. If you don't do that, there will be some extreme serious problem. So you have to take these courses. You have to take this action. You have to make the sense of urgency. Then you can able to change it, right? Creating a guiding coalition, like you have to have the strong team who will lead the change management, developing a vision and mission strategy. So you have to definitely developing a vision and mission strategy. So if I ask you like what is vision and mission, I think all of you know about it. The vision is actually, you know, the mission is actually where you are exit, and vision is why actually, you know, in what places you want to see yourself in your future, right? The simple definition is that. So you have to develop this. You have to clarify it. You have to clarify it. Otherwise, you cannot manage the change. You cannot manage the change, or you will be, you know, fail to manage it. Communicating the change vision, definitely. You have to communicate with the people. You have to, you know, we have to communicate with the team. Say, for example, your vision. You have to communicate always with the people. If you think about the great leaders, if you can see Nelson Mandela, like, you know, the Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, right? You know, they were the great leader, right? They always communicate with their vision, with the people. Even 1 single second, if they are not able to clarify their vision, the people will never accept them, right? So this is how they made it. This is how they made it. A great example. You can see how they communicate with their vision. How they communicate, how they manage it, you know, every stage, every process, and everything. So empowering board-based action, you have to take the action properly, and the board-based has to be board-based. Generating short-term wins, you have to count every wins you have. You have to count. You have to generate short-term wins as well to get it, to make it sustainable. Very simple. And considerating means producing more changes. And the new approaches in the culture. So you have to add up all these kind of points to, you know, have to manage the change management properly. So this is how actually I'll definitely, you know, tell you guys about change management more. And I highly recommend this book, all of you, to learn about change management. All right. So the thing is like, you know, say for example, complacency is really important. Let's talk about some points from this, you know, the source of complacency, like the low overall performance standards, the very important point, the low overall performance standards, right? Say for example, let me show you something. Say for example, okay, over the time, your company is doing great, right? Over the time, the profit margin, like your company is doing great. And you find yourself, you're doing really great, right? But when you see your competitor is doing like this, then the situation is different, right? Then maybe it will be a different situation, right? When you think about your competitors, that, okay, come on, I'm doing this way, fine, but when you see the competitor is doing this way, the situation is really different, right? So this is what it means like low overall performance standards. You have to maintain it. You have to make the like, you know, consistency of it, right? And there is some things like I would say about you know, the lack of sufficient performance feedback from external sources. You have to think about this. This is a very crucial point. This is very crucial, and you know, I would say the trigger points that you have to maintain in terms of change management. So this is really broad, the change management. I normally, you know, break down this topic you know, in different parts. So in my lessons like today, I just covered the basic framework of change management. How to do it, like, you know, proper way, and why we need to do it, and what kind of changes actually that normally faces by the organizations, and what kind of changes actually, you know, that will hit you significantly in terms of the company's goals and objectives. So this is what actually I talked today, and hope I'll give you a more idea about change management. I will also calculate something, some sort of like, you know, the process, the framework, and I will give you some sort of like example in terms of understanding more about change management framework in my next classes. So this is all about today. Thank you so much, guys. I hope to see you in my class in the near future. Thank you, guys. If you have any question about change management, I'm happy to answer you. You can email me, or you can ask me by any means. I'm always here to answer your question. And if you like to more about change management, I will love to give you guys good cooperation. Hope to see you guys in my class, inshallah. Bye bye now.